In this video, we are going to take you on a tour to the Shing Redoubt and look at its current shape and form. Bear in mind that what you're going to see in this video is a government-owned Grade II historic building in Hong Kong, which the AMO specifies as a building of special merit where efforts should be made to selectively preserve. We first have to apologize for the shakiness of this video as it was taken handheld with a DSLR with no autofocusing during video mode in confined spaces and rough terrains. This footage was taken in the afternoon on December 4th, 2016, which was a Sunday, and the Shing Country Park was filled with hundreds of people and there were more than 100 private cars parked along Shing Road. Of course, the Shing Country Park is a very popular destination during weekends due to its high accessibility thanks to the Shing Road, where you can drive, hire a cab, or take a minibus in Shin Wan to get there. About 15 to 20 minutes walk from the mini bus stop are the barbecue site and the starting point of Stage 6 of the MacLehose Trail. At the starting point, there is a board that introduces the country park and it also includes the Shing Redoubt. And from there, after walking up about 200 steps, we'll reach one of the entrances of the Shing Redoubt. The second time you come across the sign telling you not to enter, you enter. You first have to cross the top of a section of tunnel to get over to the other side and go up the slope. We stopped filming here due to safety reasons, as we have to cross over the top with caution to avoid falling about 3 meters into the tunnel below from the shell hole. This hole is believed to be created by a 9.2-inch British naval gun shell fired from the batteries from either Stonecutters Island or Mount Davis after the Redoubt had fallen. After going up the steep and uneven slope, we have reached a flat area where there's another shell hole, and from there we can enter the tunnels. But before we enter, we are going to visit Pillbox 402 just at the end of this section of tunnel. Here's PB402, where some members of the Royal Scouts held on to that very night. You can see the current shape of PB402 looks nowhere like a pillbox. This is because the British blew up all pillboxes after the war and all the roofs were gone. Now here's the entrance, and though it seems simple, enter with caution. Make sure you have a pair of gloves, as you will need to get hands-on to enter safely, and be careful not to fall or those rebars sticking out will hurt you. Now we've entered, and everything seems nice and bright. Don't be fooled by this, as we're using a video light that is capable of emitting 500 to 1000 lumens to light up the tunnel. It's pitch dark in most sections of the tunnels, so if you have a chance to come, be sure to have flashlights with at least 100 lumens of output, and those LEDs on the back of your smartphones will never be enough to get the job done. After going down the stairs and passing the shell hole we have just seen from outside, we reach a part where heavy mass movements and silting have occurred and the clearance has been reduced to about a meter. We have to squat to get through. The tunnel to our left leads to an exit that has completely collapsed. Now to our right is a tunnel to PB403, but it's in bad condition and we're not going to go there. Instead, we're heading straight to the open space, which is another access point to the redoubt directly next to the MacLehose Trail. Now we see two tunnels, Regent Street and Shaftesbury Avenue. The latter goes up the hill and leads to PB 400, but the part to its end is heavily silted, so we're going down Regent Street where we can go to both PB 400 and PB 401. Along the way, you can see there are cracks and spalling in the concrete. Here along a crack, you can see there are pieces of glass on both sides. These pieces of glass were actually installed by the British before the war along cracks they saw to observe the direction that the concrete was contracting towards so that they could repair later on. And of course, this place fell before the British could send in their engineers, and these pieces of glass remain here till today. Oh, by the way, just about that piece of glass, there are some small spherical objects. This is probably bad news for people who are afraid of insects and reptiles. These are actually eggs of lizards, and there are lizards all over the walls. We'll be seeing more of them as we progress on. After passing that open space, we're now at the intersection of Regent Street and Oxford Street. If we turn right, we'll be going to PB 400, where it is quite close, but we're not going to do so as the end of that side of Oxford Street is usually flooded. So we're going to PB 401 instead, and on the way, we'll be seeing a very important artifact. On the left wall, we can barely see a few words written with ink brushes. Now, we can see the word Saisan referring to Saisan Liu, Major Nishiyama Ryo, the commander of 3rd Battalion of the 228th Regiment, on the left column, and Qiwo Sablok, referring to Qiwo Sabloklin, Showa 16, or 1941, on the right column. Since the words were written with ink brushes, and ink is water-soluble, many of the words have unfortunately disappeared over time in the humid environment in the tunnel. We can now only barely see the top of the character logo, but in fact about 10 years ago, when I was in Primary 4 and came here for the first time, we could see almost the entire character and it was much clearer than now. This precious piece of evidence that the Japanese invaders left behind will completely disappear very soon, and the government has to do something to protect it from the humidity before it has completely vanished. Oh look, there are a ton of airsoft pellets on the ground. Of course, as an airsofter myself, I understand how fun it would be playing airsoft here. But this is not something any responsible airsofter should do. Playing airsoft skirmishes here is not only illegal, it's also dangerous to a visitor like us who are having a casual tour of the Redoubt and destructive to this piece of war relic. Speaking of illegal activities, playing airsoft is not the only one. This place used to be a haven for illegal immigrants. During my first trip 10 years ago, we could see a bunch of old dirty clothes and mattresses of illegal immigrants living here all over the place. Fortunately, thanks to the work of volunteers and the AFCD, such illegal activities are much rarer these days. But still, formal law enforcement should be present at this Grade II historic building to stamp out all illegal activities. We've just passed an overgrown open space, and with the dense vegetation, we could barely see the ditch on our right that we could easily fall into and hurt ourselves, so we moved slowly but surely. Now we have reached the end of Oxford Street, but before we get to PB 401, we have to crawl our way out this exit blocked by boulders and silt. Yay, we're now finally at PB 401B. We can only go to PB 401B and not 401A, because the path to 401A is filled with dense vegetation and we couldn't even see where it is. Oh, another group of visitors, this time with children. The boy you see here in striped blue t-shirt was originally standing just next to me with his back facing the ledge of the pillbox. As he refers to make room for the rest of his group, he almost fell off the ledge into the old pillbox, and I had to push him away from the ledge to prevent him from falling. These old pillboxes, with their roofs blown off, are very hazardous to visitors, and if that boy had fallen off, he would have surely broken at least an arm or a leg. That's why when I first visited this place with a bunch of other primary schoolmates, our teachers asked the senior boys from the secondary division to cordon off the area next to the pillbox. The government really should do something other than sticking up signs telling people not to enter, to ensure the safety of visitors to this Grade II historic building. Alright, we're now heading back to the Maglios Trail to visit parts of the Redoubt that are nearly inaccessible through the tunnel system. We've climbed out of this open space that we have passed by before, and we're now going up the Maglios Trail to see a very famous piece of artifact in the Shing Redoubt. We're now at a point where you can clearly see the Shing Redoubt is separated into two different tunnel systems. To our left is the end of Shaftesbury Avenue. To your right is Charing Cross leading to the observation post, which we'll be visiting in a minute. And in front of us, next to a staircase, is Markerstone L100. We're first going to go into Shaftesbury Avenue to take a look at that famous artifact. On the wall to the right, there are 5 characters saying 若林對佔領, engraved by the men of 10th Company, 3rd Battalion of the 228th Regiment, commanded by Lieutenant Wakabayashi Toshi 若林東一. Notice that the word for capture is written as 佔領 without 其人邊, instead of 佔領 that we usually see in traditional Chinese, because that's actually not Chinese, that's Japanese kanji. It's fortunate for us that it hasn't rained for about a week, or else this area where you can see all the moddies will all be flooded and you won't be able to see 若林對佔領. Speaking of flooding, this isn't the worst. Check this out. Charing Cross is still flooded after a week without rainfall, and this is what happens to Charing Cross after a few consecutive rainy days. This group of hikers in blue t-shirts in that previous footage were actually brave and unfortunate enough to come down from the observation post through Charing Cross. They told us that the condition inside was absolutely terrible. I told them to visit Regent Street and Oxford Street instead to get a more pleasant experience, and we're now going to the observation post. As people familiar with this place, we're not going to venture into Charing Cross, and instead we're taking the stairs of Smuggler's Ridge. Now we're at the observation post, and we have to first get on top of it to enter from the other side. Entering is not that easy as the path is very narrow. Now we're inside. You can see all kinds of explosion marks caused by fragmentation grenades tossed by the Japanese to dislodge the British defenders here. Be careful not to touch the ceiling, as bees have been building small beehives here recently. This is the end of our tour, and we're now going to take a look at the efforts that the government has made to promote this Grade 2 historic building that they own. Along the Maglios Trail, at spots where you can see the Redoubt, there are small posts labeling the features of the Redoubt with QR codes that lead to online descriptions. But the funny thing is, many people, including the both of us, can't receive mobile data in the middle of a hill. So it turns out that this QR code idea doesn't work that well. Another place that the government is promoting for people to learn about the Shing Redoubt is the Shing Country Park Visitor Center, and it is just next to the minibus stop. Now Dorothy is going to introduce the Visitor Center to you.
Shing Country Park Visitor Center. Inside it introduces the Shing Country Park, the biodiversity, and also a brief introduction of the country park. So apart from that, we also have a small section featuring the Shing Redoubt that we will see later. So as you can see, this is the exhibition of the Shing Redoubt in the Visitor Center. This is supposedly to be the 3D model of a Shing Redoubt that is unfortunately out of service, and we have a brief introduction of the Shing Redoubt, but the information is insufficient and is not comprehensive enough to introduce the interior structure and also the history of the Shing Redoubt.
How amazing this piece of history is can't be described through words, pictures, videos, or 3D models. You have to come here to truly feel what those brave men who fought and died for our city in one of the very few battlefields of the Battle of Hong Kong that are still intact. We, together with many historians, military enthusiasts, hikers, and many others, wish to see this place rehabilitated and get the attention it deserves to attract even more people to come to witness this amazing piece of Hong Kong history.